Hello Viking friends around the world, and welcome to my home in North Wales, just outside of Snowdonia National Park. My name's Karen Burns-Booth. I'm a food and travel writer, recipe developer, a book author, cookbook author, and I also write a blog as well called Lavender and Lovage. And some of you might recognise me from my guest chef appearance on board Viking Sun, which I've actually appeared there twice with my bespoke British menu. And what I'd like to do today is to welcome you to my home and to a very special Christmas edition of Viking TV, where I'm going to show you around my home and garden in North Wales and also share two beautifully festive recipes for British mince pies and a cheese Christmas tree, something that I call a cheesemas tree. So welcome. And before I take you inside the old schoolhouse, I'd just like to show you this beautiful view. This is what we actually see when we wake up every morning and have a bridle path at the side of our house. That's Mawr up there, our local mountain, and opposite we have Snowdonia National Park. It's actually a glorious day here, a real winter's day, crisp and cold, with a very heavy frost this morning. This is my favourite walk up here. It's a mile round walk, and I often do it. It just keeps me fit. But before I actually take you into the house and share with you my recipes and show you around, I'd like to show you some of the back garden and the shepherd's hut as well. So I did promise I was going to show you Bluebell, the shepherd's hut, and here she is. She was made in Wales, and she's pretty self-contained. She has a little kitchenette and a double bed and a table and a fabulous little hobbit wood-burning stove. And shepherd's huts were very popular during the 19th century, late 18th century, early 20th century. They were mainly in the South Downs of England. As you can see, it would be very difficult to pull it around in a mountainous area, such as around here. And they were a little bit smaller than one we've got, and they were for the shepherds during lambing season, where they would actually pull it around themselves, and in there would be a fairly simple truckle bed with a fire and a medicine cabinet to actually treat orphaned lambs or sick ewes. And that was the whole point. The shepherd would actually follow his flock around with the shepherd's hut, so he'd be able to stay out overnight for the whole of the lambing season. So here we are, just going up the steps into Bluebell. So just to show you a couple of easy chairs here with sheepskin on, and wine glasses, kettle, teapot, and we've got the Christmas tree in here ready for Christmas, and kitchenette area, plates, bread bin, mugs, absolutely everything you'd need, tea, coffee, and a sink with running water, and there's a lovely chopping board on top, and like I said, a little stove area here, and fabulously cozy alcove where the double bed is. And the duvet is made by a company called Bavette, which is a local company just down the road in Harlech, and the duvet's filled with sheep's fleece, which is the best, most insulating form of filling for a duvet, even better than goose down. So we've got a lovely local rug on the bed as well from a Welsh tweed mill. Lots of pillows for sitting up in bed and reading. A friend of mine designed this bespoke sheep bunting to hang up, which is rather lovely. And small sort of selection of books I'm going to add to it. And a couple of vintage posters and prints on the wall. And then every shepherd's hut needs to have sheepskin, a Christmas tree, and the view from the shepherd's hut, and then that gorgeous little hobbit stove I was telling you about. We'll be lighting it later, but this morning I'm probably just going to have a brew here and use the kettle here like so. So it's really compact, but it actually has everything you need, including storage underneath the kitchen area. Lovely view outside the door, really cozy and compact. And I've actually sat in here with friends and had a wine or two with some cheese. So here she is, Bluebell the shepherd's hut. So before I take you into the old schoolhouse, which is called Ynysgol in Welsh, I'd just like to tell you a little bit more about it. So it was built in 1858 and operated as a school right up until 1968. So there's still some people in the area that used to come to school here, which is rather lovely, and we've spoken to them. It's built of granite and has a slate roof and slate windowsills. And I've just hung the wreath on the front door, as you can see. So I'd like to welcome you in. Come into my home and I'll show you around, and we'll get to cooking later on, and I'm going to show you some wonderful recipes as I mentioned earlier. So welcome to the old schoolhouse, Ynysgol. And this is the kitchen, where I shall be demonstrating some recipes later for you. It's not a big kitchen, it's not a dining kitchen like I used to have in France, but it is very much a cook's kitchen with the magic triangle and the island in the middle. And I'm just going to turn the lights off to show you just how pretty it looks with the window candle arcs and mini trees. Just walking from the kitchen into the dining room. And this actually was the dining room when the school was still a school. The school was built in 1858 and ran as a school right up to 1968. And it's a lovely big room, plenty of room. We can seat up to 8 people at the table when we move it out. And has a wonderful fireplace where we can light log fires in the winter. And there's a collection of my teapots and gravy boats. And we've also got the tree over in the alcove here. And the tree is in the entranceway where the children would have come in. Walking down through the living room into what I would call the music room down here. We've got a piano, the guests do play it, and my daughter plays piano beautifully. And to the right, we've got the library. Which is a lovely place where people can come and watch television or just read. And over here, my grandmother's blanket chest and a door into the downstairs bedroom. The downstairs bedroom is a guest room, and I've got all these beautiful old Staffordshire ware plates on the wall as a decoration, and the rest of the room is furnished with French antiques because we used to live in France for 20 years. And there's the door leading out, a collection of clocks, and Chinese camphorwood chests because I lived in Hong Kong for 12 years as well. So it's quite eclectic. Beautiful big deep windows that look out towards Snowdonia, but as I'm doing a candlelit tour of the house, you won't be able to see them until later. And also a fireplace in this room. And another big window to the back that looks over the garden again, because I'm doing a candlelight tour, you can't see, but it's got an acre garden here, and it's a lovely view into the back garden. And so this is the downstairs bedroom. This is Sherry, my cat, who isn't supposed to be in the video, but here she is on the piano. Just going from the music room again, looking down the hallway going into the refectory dining room, and then walking down to where the Christmas tree is and the children's entrance. A little peek into my office. I hope it's tidy. There we are. This is where it all goes on in here with the writing. So walking into the living room, I'm really loving these lit wreaths I've got in the house this year. And this is the old, an old schoolroom. I forgot to mention to you that the bedroom that I just showed you was an old schoolroom for seniors and boys, and this is the schoolroom for juniors, the small ones, and the girls. And that's why the windows are set very high, because the children can't gaze out and be distracted when they're doing their lessons. Beautiful big windows, double aspect, and a fabulous wood-burning fire stove we have here, which isn't lit at the moment because it's not quite cold enough, but we always light the fires Christmas Eve and throughout the festive period. And then the front window, which looks out towards Snowdonia National Park. Again, because I'm doing a candlelit tour for you, you can't see it, but I will show you a couple of quick clips during the daytime. And then you can see the other part of the house I've shown you. And my antique dresser on the back wall, where I've got my advent calendars up. And these lovely, again, we've got these lovely deep windowsills where I've displayed my glass collection. It's a lovely cozy room. And really loving this advent cushion this year as well, which is quite pretty. Another aspect of the room, excuse the leaping cat, she's absolutely desperate to get my attention. She's going to be leaping all over. Just walking out of the living room again, it's my great grandmother's rocking chair there, which is over 120 years old. I love to mix things up, so I've got modern furniture, modern furnishings with antique and vintage furniture. Love my Art Deco pineapple lamp. And I collect radios. So I've got quite a few radios throughout the house. And I'll just do a quick walkthrough again, just to show you the layout of the old schoolhouse. And to show you a few more radios that I've got in my office that I collect. And that's it. Hello and welcome to my festive kitchen. And as I was showing you around the old schoolhouse earlier on, I did promise you that I was going to share two traditional British recipes with you. Well, one is very traditional, one is one that I made up a few years ago, which is super popular and is no cook. And the recipes that I'm actually going to demonstrate to you are traditional mince pies, which I'll do later. But for now, I'm going to show you how to make what I call a cheesemas tree, which is basically a cheese board in the shape of a Christmas tree, and has proved very, very popular with all my family, friends and guests. And I'm sure it will with you as well. First of all, though, I'd like to talk about the cheeses that I'm using on my cheesemas board today. And the ones that I'm actually using, because I've used these before and I find they work very well together, and they're all different colours as well, so it makes the tree look very pretty, is a wonderful mature Stilton. I say mature because the more mature the Stilton is, the firmer it is and less crumbly, which is quite important when you're building up your cheesemas tree. Fabulous red Leicester. A local Welsh cheddar flavoured cheese, which has got leeks in it, but you can use anything. You could use chive, garlic, all those kinds of flavoured cheeses, cranberry if you wish. There's so many different flavoured cheeses now. And finally, a lovely vintage cheddar cheese here. And the only proviso is that all the cheeses should be hard cheeses and not soft, crumbly ones. Right, so the next layer, we're going to start building up this tree now, putting a few branches in. And I'm going to use the cornichon, the little mini gherkins here. Just put it over for the next layer, like so. And because I want a bit of texture, I'm just going to start building that up like so. So they're almost like branches sticking up. Not too many, but you can see that I've created some sort of height and depth to the tree here. There we are. And then the next layer, I'm going to go to the flavoured cheese that I was telling you about before, which this one is a Welsh cheddar and leek. Just bringing it in slightly now because the tree's going up into a Christmas tree. So just a single layer of those. I'm just going to use one layer of these cheeses because it's quite strong. So just build it up like so, give it a little bit of height and texture, sprinkle any crumbs you've got over the top like that. And that's that layer done. Okay, on to the next branches now. And it really is pretty much just sort of building, but try to also keep everything close together so it looks very cohesive. So the mature cheddar going on next, a little bit of difference in the colours on here, building that up. And I won't be using the cheddar again. So once I've got my branch in, so to speak, I'm going to start doing what I've done with the other branches or layers of cheese. I'm going to start, you've heard of double dipping, well I'm double layering here, just to give it a bit of texture and height to make it look better. So I think that looks nice, like so. And then the next layer, I'll talk you through that since I'm here, are silver skin onions. I think they're called pearl onions maybe in North America, button onions maybe, but we call them silver skin. They're tiny little silver skin onions. So the whole point of layering this cheese tree with all these things is that these are all pickled vegetables and fruit, because I have used fruit before, that marry so well with cheese. So when you actually allow people to sit down or at a buffet table and help themselves to the tree, there'll be toothpicks available for people. The actual pickles are things that normally and naturally go with cheese. So I'm just going to layer that up. I want a little bit of height again, like so. And you can see that I'm starting to get the tree shape now, sort of going up like so. Just a couple more, because we won't be using these again, and they are really lovely with cheese. And so there's your next layer of silver skin onions. Okay, more branches going on. Of course, it smells delicious, all these sort of pickles and cheeses and everything. So the next branch is going on. We're back to our old friend Red Leicester. So just layering this here, keeping it tightly in so it looks like a, like a proper tree, not too many gaps, so it's not too windswept. And there we have it, like so. And you can start maybe doing a couple of double layers now as we go up like this. You don't have to use all of your cheese, but it's quite attractive to do it like that. And again, for height, I'll just finish off putting a couple on top like so. And so there's our next layer in. Okay, so the next layer or branch is going to be cornichon again, and these are quite big, so I'm just going to sort of chop them into small pieces to bring a bit more green to the top, because we've nearly finished our tree now as we're getting to the top. So I've just chopped a couple of more cornichon there, just into little pieces like that. And you can probably do a double layer there to give it more of a tree shape, like so. That'll probably be enough like that. There we are. And that's your next tree branch. Right, so as you can see, it looks absolutely fabulous. And you'd have this on your buffet table, or you'd actually bring it to the table for the cheese course over the festive period, or any time of the year really, but obviously it is a tree, Christmas tree, so Christmas is best. And then just to make it a little bit more authentic, I'm actually going to decorate it with some thyme, like so, to give it a bit of texture, lovely aroma of the thyme here, just sort of build it up like so. And I've done this upside down to myself so you can see what I'm doing here, so you'll have to excuse me if it's a little bit rough and ready, but I'll tidy it up afterwards. So just feed your thyme in like that, fresh thyme, like so, giving it a bit more of a Christmas tree shape as you're going down. There we are. So if you have made errors in some of your layers where they're maybe not tree shaped enough, then you can always sort of like remedy it by putting your thyme in like so. There we are, just breaking it off like that. And you can also give it a bit of texture by putting some amongst your cheese and pickles like this. It looks lovely, even upside down it looks lovely, like so. You don't need much, and you can get if you don't, I mean, I grow thyme in the back garden. We have a large acre garden in the back, but if you don't grow thyme, and obviously all the supermarkets sell it now, you can even buy the live thyme in the little pots as well. So here we have it. And that's just about finished before I tell you how we actually serve it. So here we have it, my Cheesemas tree. And you just set this on the table and make sure you put a little container of toothpicks there, and people can just help themselves to the cheese and the pickle, like so. And it's a really, really lovely no-cook idea for the festive period, Christmas, New Year, Advent, all this period, you know, in the year. And the great thing about it, doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can use regional cheeses which are sort of indigenous to yourself, if so to speak. Use homemade pickles, use anything that you know you feel that would work well. Fruit works well. I've put grapes in here before. I've put cherries in here before, because all those types of fruits go so well with rich cheese. Really hope you've enjoyed this demonstration, and I really hope that you all get to make one of these Cheesemas trees this year for yourself and your family and friends, and dig in. Merry Christmas or Cheesemas. And now today I'm going to show you how to make some traditional British mince pies. Mince pies are beloved by most of the population. There are a few people that don't like them. Obviously it's a bit of a Marmite moment, but I absolutely love them, and I could eat my body weight in them. They're absolutely delicious. And I'd like to show you that I've actually made my own mincemeat. I make it every year. And here we have the mincemeat I've made, 2 big containers of it. And mincemeat goes back several hundred years. And the reason it's called mincemeat is originally it would be meat that was minced with spices and fruit and was considered a delicacy. And the only remnant of that meat in the mincemeat nowadays is the suet that you have in most commercially made mincemeats, but even that's vegetarian now and not meat suet. I make a fat-free version, which is particularly boozy, so the preserving agent in it is cider and brandy. And I'd also like to show you some old-fashioned mince pie tins, not like the modern ones. These are rounded bottoms. And these probably date from circa 1920s right through to the 50s. I've got a collection of old ones here, and these rather pretty ones here with the embossed leaf shape on the bottom. So those are the old mince pie tins. I'm going to make a pretty standard recipe today and demonstrate with you. The recipe is shared on the Viking kitchen table, and I'm going to tell you a few substitutions and alternatives that you can make yourself. But for now, I'm going to get going in the kitchen with these mince pies, and can't wait actually, because the great thing about demonstrating is I actually get to taste them later. So here we are. So I've rolled out my pastry. This is just a standard short crust pastry. It's my mum's recipe actually, and I tend to use as well. Try and cover the not advertising. I tend to use rice flour. I find it much better than wheat flour for rolling things out. So I've rolled it out, and it's just here like this. I'm now going to stamp out the bottoms of the mince pies. So I've used, for my old cutters here, I've got this set of cutters which is about 2 inches 5 centimeters, and I'm going to, sometimes I actually think that you might need to use a bigger one. I'm not quite sure about that, so I'm going to just try using a bigger one. This is a really good example to show you the size, and I think I'm going to go with the bigger one because I think it gives more of a stand-up feel to it. But that's all right, because I can use the other one for a lid. So I'll just pop that to one side and carry on stamping these out. I've buttered these mince pie tins already. They've already been buttered, well buttered, because it not only does it make it sort of gives ease for taking the mince pies out, but also you don't get that dreaded Great British Bake Off phenomenon of a soggy bottom. So I'm just going to carry on just filling these patty tins, mince pie tins up with the cut out pastry. So I've cut all my circles out and lined my mince pie patty tin here. Like I said, I went for the bigger one in the end to give a nice sort of side to it. And I'm now going to fill it, and it's less is more here really. You don't want them all sort of oozing out. So I'd say 1 1/2 teaspoon would be sufficient for this size of patty tin. Obviously, you might have a different size patty tin, so it could be anywhere between 1 teaspoon and 2 teaspoons. But I think that's just about right. They do tend to leak out sometimes, but that's fine. I think you don't want to be too mean, but neither do you want all of the filling to actually be oozing out and burning your oven and spoiling your patty tins, your mince pie tins as well. So just carry on filling them. You might be able to see that in my mince meat, there's quite a lot of orange. This is an orange and brandy and almond mincemeat, homemade, and I'm going to share the recipe on the kitchen table, Viking's kitchen table, with you. Very easily made, and is so much better than the commercial mincemeat, so much better. And as I mentioned, this one is a fat-free one, so there's no butter or suet in here. So very much removed from the original meaty mincemeat, which used to use beef in the main, minced beef that was mixed with the fruit and the spices and alcohol as well. So I'm just going to carry on. I'm going to make a dozen mince pies today, and I tend to make them in 2 batches. Well, mainly I do have 12 mince pie patty tins, but I just like to make them in 2 sets of 6. So I filled all of them up, as you can see. It's like I said, about 1.5 teaspoons in these. I'm now actually going to cut out the lids. And of course we've got one lid that's ready already. So here, you just pinch it round like so. You can wet the outside. Just pinch it round like that. And I'm going to show you how else you can actually do the lids as well. So once you've nipped them together, you can just go around with a knife, just sort of crimping around the outside, and then make 2 cuts in the top of the pie to let the steam out. Just go around again, like so. I don't mind that the lids are loose when I bake my mince pies, and I'll tell you why. Is because you can then, it makes it easy to take the lid off and put a little dollop of brandy butter or clot of cream in. Now the other way of actually sort of putting the lid on the pies is, I've just cut one out already, is to put a star on here. Just like that, you just need to sit it on, and because it doesn't go right up to the edge, you don't need to make 2 cuts in that. But I would like to show you how I actually garnish my pies before baking. So this is a beaten egg yolk mixed with a little water. So it gives a lovely meringue kind of finish. So I'm just going to brush this beaten egg yolk, so egg white, onto here. And then we're going to sprinkle some sugar over. And what will happen is when it bakes, it will create almost like a sort of meringue kind of finish, which is rather nice. And because I've just filled my holes up here, just go like that and make them a little bit wider. Okay, so I've re-rolled all the pastry here, as you can see, and I've completed my first set of 9 mince pies. This is the old, I forgot to mention actually, the old mince pie tins come in 9s for some reason. So as you can see, I've alternated it with stars and normal pastry lids. I've brushed on the egg white and the sugar to make the meringue, and I'm now going to pop them in a preheated oven. It's 200 Celsius, which is 400 Fahrenheit, 180 Celsius fan, and I believe that's gas mark 6 or gas mark 5 for if you've got a fan gas oven, but I don't think there are fan gas ovens. So I'm just going to pop this in, and they will take about 10 to 15 minutes. So the first batch of mince pies are out of the oven. I've taken some off already, so ease them out of the tin carefully, like so, and pop them onto a wire cooling rack, like that. And I'm really pleased with these. The pastry, I meant to talk to you about the pastry actually, is my mum's short crust pastry, and the reason it's quite puffy is she makes, well, she used to make it, sadly she's passed away, but it's made with self-raising flour instead of plain flour. And we just like it that way. It's almost like a sort of shortbready kind of very short pastry. And you can see the little bits of meringue bits on the top here. But in the recipe that I shared in the kitchen table on Viking, I actually suggest actually adding some orange juice and orange zest to your pastry. So you can do that. You can make the mince pies with puff pastry. Obviously they'll be very puffy. Or you can use short crust on the bottom and put a puff pastry lid on the top. That's another way of doing it. And of course you can also use an egg enriched sweet pastry as well. But the pastry I've used today is my mum's plain old fashioned short crust pastry made with self-raising flour. So they're all out of the oven, the mince pies, looking lovely. And I know that they may be a little bit more rustic than commercial ones, but they are so much better. And as for the mincemeat, this mincemeat is made with brandy, mixed fruit, currant sultanas, raisins, flaked almonds, cherries, dried cranberries, cider, mixed spices, and orange zest and orange juice. So I'm just going to bob these onto this serving platter here. Like so, and of course you can at this stage freeze them as well if you like. I mean, I've got 18 here, so we're not going to eat 18 straight away. So I'm probably going to pop a couple in the freezer. It just saves time nearer the big day when you're really sort of busy with other things. Now I know it's got a meringue topping on it, but it is traditional to give mince pies when they're on a platter like this a sort of goodly amount of snowy white icing sugar. So that's what I'm going to do, and got my icing sugar here. So we just dust them with icing sugar. It's supposed to replicate snow, and you'd also put a holly sprig on there as well. We do have holly in the garden, and we do have holly with berries, but I haven't brought any in. But anyway, there we are. So these are my traditional British mince pies. Homemade pastry, homemade mincemeat, absolutely delicious, freezable, so easy to make. And I really hope that you try this recipe this Christmas and enjoy what is essentially my mother and grandmother's recipe, something that I make now as well. Merry Christmas!